This is written by W. Montgomery Watt in Muhammad at Mecca, published in Oxford, 1953, page 52. Muhammad, the inspired man who founded Islam, was born about AD 570 into an Arabian tribe that worshipped idols. Orphaned at birth, he was always particularly solicitous of the poor and needy, the widow and the orphan, the slave and the downtrodden. At 20, he was already a successful businessman, and soon became director of camel caravans for a wealthy widow. When he reached 25, his employer, recognizing his merit, proposed marriage. Even though she was 15 years older, he married her, and as long as she lived, remained a devoted husband. Like almost every major prophet before him, Muhammad fought shy of serving as the transmitter of God's word, sensing his own inadequacy. But the angel commanded, "Read." So far as we know, Muhammad was unable to read or write, but he began to dictate those inspired words, which would soon revolutionize a large segment of the earth. There is one God. In all things, Muhammad was profoundly practical. When his beloved son Ibrahim died, an eclipse occurred, and rumors of God's personal condolence quickly arose, whereupon Muhammad is said to have announced, "An eclipse is a phenomenon of nature. It is foolish to attribute such things to the death or birth of a human being." At Muhammad's own death, an attempt was made to deify him, but the man who was to become his administrative successor killed the hysteria with one of the noblest speeches in religious history. "If there are any among you who worship Muhammad, he is dead. But God you worshipped, he lives forever." This was written by James A. Mitchell in Islam, the Misunderstood Religion, published in the Reader's Digest, American edition, for May 1955, pages 68 to 70. My choice of Muhammad to lead the list of the world's most influential persons may surprise some readers, and may be questioned by others. But he was the only man in history who was supremely successful on both the religious and secular level. This was written by Michael H. Hart, The 100, a ranking of the most influential persons in history. It was published in New York by the Hart Publishing Company, Incorporated, in 1978, page 33. What they say about the Quran. Humanity has received the divine guidance only through two channels. Firstly, the word of Allah. Secondly, the prophets who were chosen by Allah to communicate His will to human beings. These two things have always been going together, and attempts to know the will of Allah by neglecting either of these two have always been misleading. The Hindus neglected their prophets and paid all attention to their books that proved only word puzzles, which they ultimately lost. Similarly, the Christians, in total disregard to the Book of Allah, attached all importance to Christ, and thus not only elevated him to divinity, but also lost the very essence of Tawheed, monotheism, belief in one God, contained in the Bible. As a matter of fact, the main scriptures revealed before the Quran, that is, the Old Testament and the Gospel, came into book form long after the days of the prophets, and that too in translation. This was because the followers of Moses and Jesus made no considerable efforts to preserve these revelations during the life of their prophets. Rather, they were written down long after their death. Thus what we know have been in the form of the Bible, the Old as well as the New Testaments, is a collection of individuals' accounts of the original revelations, which contain additions and deletions made by the followers of the said prophets. On the contrary, the last revealed book, the Quran, is extant in its original form. Allah Himself guaranteed its preservation, and that is why the whole of the Quran was written during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad. May the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him. It was written on separate pieces of palm leaves, parchments, bones, etc. And moreover, there were tens of thousands of the companions of the Prophet who memorized the whole Quran, and the Prophet himself used to recite it to the angel Gabriel once a year and twice when he was about to die. Then the first Caliph, Abu Bakr, entrusted the collection of the whole Quran in one volume to the Prophet's scribe, Zayd bin Ibn Thabit, This volume was with Abu Bakr till his death. Then it was with the second Caliph, Umar, and after him it came to Hafsa, the Prophet's wife. It was from this original copy that the third Caliph Uthman prepared several other copies and sent them to different Muslim territories. The Quran was so meticulously preserved because it was to be the book of guidance for humanity for all time to come. That is why it does not address the Arabs alone in whose language it was revealed. It speaks to men as human beings. O man, what has seduced you from your Lord? The practicability of the Quranic teachings is established by the examples of Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and the good Muslims throughout the ages. The distinctive approach of the Quran is that its instructions are aimed at the general welfare of man and are based on the possibilities within his reach. In all its dimensions, the Quranic wisdom is conclusive. It neither condemns nor tortures the flesh, nor does it neglect the soul. It does not humanize, nor does it deify man. Everything is carefully placed where it belongs in the total scheme of creation. Actually, the scholars who allege that Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was the author of the Quran, claim something which is humanly impossible. Could any person of the 6th century of the Common Era utter such scientific truths as the Quran contains? Could he describe the evolution of the embryo within the uterus so accurately as we find it in modern science?
Bin Al-Walid, Islamic Recording, Islamic Tape Center in International Languages and Islamic Books, Riyadh Al-Sulay, Harun Al-Rashid Street, Exit 16 East, Post Box 1419, Riyadh 11431. Telephone 2410615. Fax 2410595.